Hey, hey. Men, women, and children, hope is in the building. Hey. What is going on, Human Hope Familia? Welcome to episode 132 of the Human Hope Podcast. With your host, say it with me, Carlos Enrique Whittaker Guzman Chival Cabello, or Los for short. Yeah, 132. 132 is coming for you. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Oh man, do we have a gift today? We are going to be joined by two dear friends of mine. And you know what? I know that last week the It's Never Too Late series ended with me, myself and I. And this isn't actually part of the It's Never Too Late series until I listened to the interview and I thought, you know what? I know a lot of people that are going to listen to this conversation and go, oh my gosh, I want to do that, but it's too late. I'm here to tell you right away, it's not. It's not. You're going to be inspired by my friends Chris and Sara. Inspired. And they are going to make you want to go on a journey you didn't want to go on. So I'm excited. Oh, I know the music's still playing. Hang on. Isn't it just so groovy? Groovy. So let me tell you, as we fade the music out, I am recording this. The recording date is Monday, the 23rd of October, which if you've been hanging out on Instagram, you know that this is the morning after. The morning after I moved my mom and dad in across the street. And I have already been over there one time today to eat some cantaloupe with my mom and say good morning to my dad. Now I'm back over here. And if you're watching on YouTube, you see kind of my studio lighting and kind of where I record this podcast, but it's actually like I'm in the basement. There's a ping pong table in front of me. There's laundry stacked up in front of the ping pong table. There's a guest room behind me to the right. Laundry room's right in front of me. Like it's not the ideal setup for an office because there's just traffic left and right. Something that only the Human Hope Familia is going to know is that I'm actually moving my office and my studio at some point over to my parents' house. And I'm going to build my studio over there. That way I can just get things done, you know? And you know, it'll feel a little bit more professional. Now, a lot of times you hear these interviews done or you watch it on YouTube and I'm in a really fancy studio with the Human Hope logo on. That's the That Sounds Fun studio. Okay. Like that's my podcast network studio, but I thought it'd be cool to like build something a little fancier over there. So that's coming up. That'll be fun. Maybe I'll do a little behind the scenes tour as we're setting that studio up. But yeah, mom and dad are in across the street. I am physically and emotionally exhausted. I am hitting new levels of exhaustion that I didn't know were available. But here we sit. And I'm just grateful that they're there. Grateful for, if you watched my Instagram this week, you saw the incredible amount of people. Maybe 40 people showed up to help us move in. We unloaded a 26-foot box truck in 4 hours flat. We had the entire house set up with candles lit and paintings on the wall in 5 hours. And 6.5 hours after we started unloading the truck, my parents walked into a completely set up house. And also, again, all of this is on a highlight. I really recommend that you go watch it because, you know, there's well, hold on. Two thoughts here. I missed one. Whoosh, squirrel. Oh no, it's gone. I just am grateful for the amount of people that showed up. And I feel like you should go back and watch it because it's mind blowing. It was almost like Extreme Home Makeover. What happens when a community comes together? And I know that this community, it was my church community, some Insta Familia community I never met, and then some friends of mine that have just been friends for a long time. Everyone's showing up and getting things done. It was a beautiful picture of, you know, and I say this with hesitation because I know there's been a lot of wounding that has happened in the church, but it was the church in action. And a reminder to people that have been wounded by the church, as I have, that the church is not a pastor that has wounded you. A church is not a system of beliefs that have wounded you. A church is not a building that you were wounded in. The church is the people of God coming together to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And that's what I saw yesterday. So there's a lot of church hurt. I know that it's happened. I challenge you to go watch my story from yesterday, which was a week ago. It's in my highlight with my mom and dad, their little emojis, and a house. And watch what I believe is the church. Just watch it. And again, a lot of people that listen to this aren't of my same faith background. You don't believe the same things I do. But you will see a community that I believe the American church should be. So there were people that were helping me move in that aren't of the same belief system I am. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. I'm overwhelmed. My body is feeling all the stress. You know, it's funny how like our bodies sometimes will tell us, hey, yo, it's time to shut it down. So I'm probably on Instagram. I've probably been on Instagram a lot less this week. Well, by the time you listen to this, I can just feel that I just need to be present in a different way. And so, yeah, I'm going to maybe back off a little bit on the socials for a little bit. I don't know how long that's going to be. It could be 2 days. And by the time you listen to this, I'm back going. But I've been posting a lot just because I wanted to share this journey. And I'm just going to take a breather. So, but not a breather from the podcast, because here we are. 6 minutes and 50 seconds in, and at least according to my little time thing. And we're going to hop into the conversation. I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek into kind of some of the stuff I've been feeling. Today's podcast is, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you guys to meet my friends, Chris and Sara. So Chris Pachiba and Sara Pachiba are full-time digital nomads. Ooh, fancy. What does that mean? They work full-time on the road. Like they live in a van. Maybe not a van anymore. Maybe it's an RV now, or a camper, or they'll explain it, what it is. But for a long time, they were like van lifers, right? Like living in a van with their dog. And what I love about today's conversation is we talk about risk, like risk-taking lifestyles, right? Like what does that actually look like? We talk about storytelling and how storytelling is such an important part of their world. But here's the part where I think a lot of people are going to really get some nuggets out of. We lean into, is there ever a perfect time to just go and do, right? It's never too late. We just finished with that series. Is there ever a perfect time? And of course, you probably know the answer, right? There's never a perfect time, but we dive into that. It's actually going to be really cool. They did this interview from like a cool, beautiful beach spot, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Or was that just another Zoom call I had with Chris? Off the coast of Oregon. Also, Chris is the one that has designed a lot of things that you see, whether it be book launch things, my book covers. He designed Kill the Spider and Enter Wild. And yeah, so he's just been part of my team for a long time. And I'm just so appreciative of him and Sara and all the goodness that they are going to give to us. So, Human Hope family, be inspired. This is going to be a fun conversation by the hope that these humans give us, Chris and Sara. Okay, Human Hope familia, I am sitting across, I guess across the country. I see them in front of me, like I can touch my screen, and I'm touching Chris's forehead and I'm touching Sarah's forehead. But I'm talking to Chris and Sara. They're actually known as Chris and Sara. When I was in a meeting yesterday, everyone was like, "So how do I find them?" I was like, "Just Google Chris and Sara." Right. And there's a picture of Chris getting eye surgery in Korea that pops up all over the place. And so, you find things. Anyway, guys, welcome to the podcast. So glad you guys are here.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Okay, so you said good to be here. Let's just start here. Where is here? Where are you glad to be besides on the podcast?
Yeah.
Where am I looking at you? I see some sort of forest behind you in a window.
Yeah, we actually are in Olympic National Park. We're right on the Washington coast. And by right on it, I mean we snagged a beachfront campsite at the national park.
On.
So we're like looking over the Pacific Ocean right now.
We had to beat some people for it, but we're here and it's beautiful. So.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just start here. We can get into like, all the other things I want to talk about, but let's just talk about like people that like to go camping in the summer and you're traveling around national parks and you just said we had to beat some people to get this. Give us the secret sauce to getting. I don't care if you're at, Home Junction National Park or State Park in like, I don't know, the forest of Alabama or what. Like, what's the trick, guys?
Get there early.
Yeah, get there early. And if you have Starlink, you could set up, have high-speed internet while you wait in the parking lot, and then you wait them out. Like you
do.
Yeah, you just got to wait them out. It's the older generation that typically beats us.
Yeah.
So we've got to be faster.
They get up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah. They don't sleep very much. So they're in line to get these campsites.
So are you saying you got to like get in an actual line of vehicles?
Just standing, actually.
Yeah.
It depends. It's different park to park, but for Olympic National Park, it was an actual standing line.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris stood out there for us.
Yeah. And the park ranger was only available from 12 to 1. And so they had a big, information or a big sign on the booth, and you just stand out there. It was like you're waiting in line. Yeah.
Are you like choosing the campsite like on a little map, or do you have to grab a thing and sprint to your campsite?
It's sort of like a wait list thing. So we got whatever we could get, but we got lucky, and the one that our number was up for, it was a beachfront one. It could have been something much different.
Yeah.
But
and we're last minute sort of people. And so we just kind of wandered into the Olympic Peninsula area and we snagged this. Typically, like these people, they're booking it out. I mean, weeks, months, out. So they're more prepared than we are half the time.
Amazing. Well, thanks for that little bit of information to know that we can be last minuters and still end up with a beachfront campsite. How long do you have? How long before they kick you out?
Oh, just one night. We're heading north tomorrow. So.
But that was our decision.
Yeah.
That was our decision. Yeah.
Oh, you could have stayed longer. Yeah.
No, if we had seen the view before we decided on the dates, maybe we would have.
We didn't know if we were going to get stuck by the restrooms or if we're going to have a beachfront, access. So, yeah.
Sure. No, that makes sense. That's awesome. Well, listen, I've kind of introduced you guys a little bit on the intro before we started this conversation, but why don't I let you guys just kind of let everybody know kind of who you are together as a couple, and then who you are. Oh, I like this. I like the way this is coming out here. Who you are together as a couple, and then who you are separately as individuals.
Ooh.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, we're Chris and Sara. We are husband and wife, and we call ourselves digital nomads. I guess that's the easiest way to describe us. So we travel and we work on the road, and we've done that full time for about 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the business side of things, but individually we both love to travel, but I am the adventurous one, like Enneagram wise, totally a 7 all the way. So I am very much like always trying something new. That's very much my thing. And then Chris balances me out and keeps me from making too many irrational decisions.
I'm a 9. So if you're in Nashville or anywhere else that knows Enneagram, I'm a 9. And that means I'm a peacemaker. And I like routine. We do balance each other out. She gets me out the door, and then I'm like, hey, let's slow down. Let's be here. Let's, try something like that. So, but yeah, I think one thing, while we're digital nomads and we still work full time from the room, whether it's different clients or, and we do like graphic design, website work, all that stuff, but we also document our travels and put it on YouTube. And that's what a lot of people kind of follow along. They just, and somebody said the other day that our channel is just so random that it's real life. And that's exactly what it is. It's just kind of all over the place, but it's our real life.
It is.
That's how often are you YouTubing, like putting content up on YouTube?
Usually once a week.
Yeah, usually once a week. Yeah. So we're doing that. And then we actually just started doing like a podcast too. So that's added to it. But yeah, usually once a week, it's a different adventure, whether it's here in the States or internationally.
Yeah, that's amazing. As long as I've known you, it's actually crazy that you said you've been doing this kind of digital nomad thing 4 or 5 years, which is just making me feel really old because I knew you guys way before you were doing this, but the one thing that I will say that has stayed consistent is, you guys are storytellers, and you've been telling stories for as long as I've known you. When I first met Chris, I just remember, help me remember, Chris. I was like, I was like maybe doing my own like fitness course, and
Yeah.
I
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
in need of somebody to help me edit my videos because I was
It,
editing them every night.
yeah.
And I was like, I was shooting them on my Mac like FaceTime camera, like the camera that's like and I do burpees and I do like all these things. And then I would like edit them myself and I'd post them and I was like, man, I'm like every night I'm up till 1 a.m. And I just remember you like reached out. This may have been, who knows if it was pre-Instagram, but
It
you reached
was,
out and
yeah. It was on
was it?
Twitter. It was before X. It was, it was
Oh, it was
when,
before X.
yeah.
Yes, it was when it was still a bird.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we ended up meeting because I was running this little fitness thing while I was like on tour with like, I don't know, some CCM band, and I just remember we met up. Where was that?
It
Do you
was,
remember?
Seattle?
no, it was somewhere in North
No,
Carolina.
it
It
was like,
was in the middle of North Carolina. We were living at Raleigh in the time before we moved out
oh,
to
That
Seattle
long ago?
that long ago.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's been like 7 years ago then.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah, no, it was. And anyway, you started editing my videos, and I say that because, um, you know, as much as people look at what I do, and it's been a grind and an entrepreneurial hustle for a long time. For honestly, I mean, it still is, but for as long as I can remember. And you guys were doing kind of the same thing. You know, I know that Sarah at the time, were you doing something in, I could be way wrong, like healthcare maybe?
I was working for a nonprofit, like a
A
medical nonprofit. Yeah.
medical nonprofit.
Yeah. So I was working remotely. That was
Okay.
definitely not a dream job. So I got out of that one. It paid the bills for a little bit, but yeah, that was a one
Yeah.
year thing.
No, well, that Chris started editing some of my videos, and then we just became friends. And I just remember like looking at your YouTube channel, and you had made some really cool documentary of like, I don't know if you were riding your bike across the planet or something. I can't remember what you were doing,
Close.
Yeah.
but yes, but you were making stories even back then. So I would love for you guys to just kind of tell us a little bit about your journey. As far as storytellers from and even lifting up the hood a little bit on the entrepreneurial side of storytelling and what it is that you're doing. Just kind of go at the beginning.
Mm, wow.
Start all the way back at that
And
documentary.
they had that document. So Sarah and
Yeah.
I, we actually met. Our relationship began riding our bicycles across America. Now, full transparency, I was actually documenting a lot of that ride. Sarah did more riding than I did. By more
Yeah.
riding, I mean like 95% more riding than me. But we met on this shoot, and this ride across America was to raise funds and awareness for Burmese refugees.
Got it.
And so, like right at the beginning, we met on this crazy trip where we're living out of Rubbermaids and riding, 80 to 100 miles a day. And we're seeing a side of America that not a lot of people get to see. And we're also, you know, creating awareness for this people group, on the other side of the world. And so
Yeah.
we met like that. We started our relationship like that. And I think for both of us, it's just been integral in who we are. We've always wanted to be a part of, whether it's people or an organization or whatever. We've always wanted to be a part of a bigger story and be able to share, things that maybe you haven't heard about
Yeah.
or haven't been exposed to, and so I think that's really what drives us.
Yeah, we always go and kind of look back at that cycling tour because it was 8 weeks across the country, and every single person on that trip was just, it was the weirdest group of people. I mean, great. We're still great friends with all of them, but like you never would have naturally put each of these people together. And so you
Yeah.
have like, you're learning each of those people's story. And at the end of it, you're great friends. And then you also are seeing these different sides of America that most people never see. I mean, these like
Yeah.
200 people towns in North Dakota that no one's ever going to go through. Like there's a story there. And I think we fell in love with sharing that story of people and places. And then it's just sort of snowballed and grown from there. We've
Yeah.
done months in Thailand and South America and sort of all over since then.
Yeah. And back then, even on that tour, we were still working remotely. Like I said, we did,
Yeah.
graphic design, all that stuff. And so that was how we were able to fund and be able to travel wherever and work from wherever. And I remember one of my friends when I was living in North Carolina at the time, they're like, why are you living here? You could live anywhere because your job is fully online. Nobody needs you in person. And it really stuck with me, but I never pushed out. Like I just was very
Yeah.
comfortable with where I was. And then Sarah was the one who was like, hey, we need to go. Like we just need to leave. And so we moved.
Really?
Yeah, like so we moved to Seattle, which is completely very different from where we both grew up and lived, and
Yeah.
we fell in love in the Pacific Northwest, and then from there we just started traveling and living in Seattle. We noticed that the rent was getting a little higher, and we're like, oh, you know what? Like for the amount of money that we're paying for this apartment in Seattle,
Right.
we could be traveling and doing something else. And so that's when we bought a van. We bought our first van,
I
and
remember.
we decided to live in it because it was cheaper to live in a van than it was an
This
apartment.
was like early in the van life trend too. So
Yeah.
everybody
Oh, yeah.
thought we were crazy. Like nobody was doing this.
Yeah, our
Or I
family,
shouldn't say nobody, but very few people.
very few people. Our family was asking, "Was everything all right? Do you have enough money? You're okay? Like, please, But we're here to help." And we're like, "No, no, no. We're going to live in this van and we're going to travel." And then the first 4 or 5 months, we didn't. I mean, besides Instagram, we really didn't
Yeah.
document all that
Yeah.
much.
We just lived it.
Yeah, and then we were actually camping at Disney World
Mm-hmm.
for in the winter during like the polar vortex days, and we saw this elderly couple and they had a GoPro with their dog, and I'm like, what are you doing with that GoPro? And they're like, oh, we have a YouTube channel and we document our dog and all the adventures we travel around with. And I remember they were so nice and so sweet. And I remember when they left, I looked at Sarah and I was like, if they have a YouTube channel,
Right.
we needed to have a YouTube channel.
And we started our channel the next day.
Yep.
Did you?
Yeah, we
The
really
next day?
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
And here
4 years
you
ago?
are.
Yeah.
And here we are.
we are. It's just kept going. I mean, there's been highs and lows all the way through. Like,
Yeah.
COVID definitely was a sort of threw us a curveball when you're travelers. That's
Mhm.
kind of your main thing. But we've always kind of found our way back. We've done life on the road for years. We've done international. We usually travel pretty slow. So like a month or so at a time in a place.
Yeah.
And that's our business is just kind of continued. I think the YouTube side has definitely grown a lot. Like that's
It has.
from an entrepreneur side, like that's been the hardest thing to keep up with, is trying to balance the two as one grows and,
Mhm.
still doing the other.
Yeah, and this was the first thing in my life. I've always helped other people. I've always helped them
Yeah.
achieve their dreams, whether it's through video editing or through graphic, whatever. Like this was the first time that it was like for us. Like I was
Yeah.
like we were the client. I didn't have to work. Like we were the ones who are trying to get this off the ground. So it's a different like relationship and way to think about it. When we're
Yeah.
working this way. So
Yeah, for sure.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Listen, if there's ever been a season where I need to talk to my therapist on a weekly basis, it's right now. I've realized that in the stress of my life right now, with my buying a house across the street from my parents, moving my parents in, packing up my parents to leave their home in Atlanta, Georgia, my career taking off, my daughter getting married, my son being 17, my marriage trying to be what it is, everything is happening at one time. It is so full. I need my therapist. And I'm so grateful that I get to experience somebody else leaning in to the deep parts of my life. This is what I got to say. If you think that you could benefit from a therapist leaning into your life, it doesn't mean your life is broken. It could just mean that your life is full and spilling over the edges. BetterHelp is an incredible way to do that. Okay, so if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, completely designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And all you've got to do is just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And guess what? You can even switch therapists if you're not vibing with the one that you've got at no additional charge. This is what I need you to do. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/humanhope to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/humanhope.
And I mean, so now, where would you say your primary focus is as far as, you know, what you guys are doing every day? Like, are you someone here is digital nomads, kind of doing some graphic design stuff on the side, kind of, you know, doing this, have our own YouTube channel, which is great. I mean, I feel like you guys are like at 100,000 subscribers or something like that. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, we're over 100 now. We hit 100 last year. So.
131.
Oh, let's go.
Good counting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where are you spending most of your time? Are you making stuff about you? Or are you making stuff about other people?
It's about 50-50 right now. We would love for it to be very much about like our travels. Like that is where we want to go because it gives us the freedom to really do whatever we want. But I mean, realistically, the web stuff, the graphic design, that's still about 50% of our income. So we still very much focus on that. We get to be a little bit more selective in who we take on. We try to take on bigger projects versus little tiny small off ones. And that helps us with our time. But we are focusing more and more on our business. Like we added the podcast, a few months ago, and we're doing the videos more consistently.
We led trips, like, you know, because we travel so much and people know us for our travels. So we led a trip last year to Iceland, and
really,
you know,
so fun,
which was amazing. And it was amazing that all the like 14 strangers signed up just to go onto a random country with us. It was, we just couldn't believe it. So it's always, I tell Sarah, and I've said this for a while, we always feel like the YouTube side of our business is in that mullet stage. Like you're trying to like grow your hair out, and it's not long and beautiful yet, but it looks like a mullet. Like it's just like, it's gonna get there, but it's just slow.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. The mullet stage.
Definitely.
Okay. So let me think. We've got, you know, a lot of people that are listening to this that are in a season of their life where they're like, you just have to be built different in order to do what they're doing. You just have to, I don't know, like, I just don't know if like I've got, maybe in 10 years, maybe, you know, whatever. Is there ever a perfect time to just kind of go out and start doing something similar to what you guys are doing? Or was it just a decision you guys had to make?
There's never a perfect time. I think we always kind of say that everybody has like a certain level of risk they're able to take. And, you know, for us, more often than not, our limiting factor is, you know, finances. For some people, it may be having kids or, you know, it may be their jobs, but there's never going to be a perfect time no matter what that limitation is. You do kind of have to just go, but you can make a calculated risk. That's what we always say we take is like, we kind of look at it and say, how much can we really risk? And so like, our point of entry was our first van. It was the cheapest way that we could travel and make it full time and sort of work along the way. So there's never a perfect time, but I think there are different ways to go into it. And I think a lot of people see maybe what we're doing, or they see other people on YouTube who are traveling full time and they're in a new country every 5 days and they think that's what it has to look like. But that's not realistic. There's plenty of people out there who are doing it, you know, a month at a time, a couple months at a time, or maybe they're just traveling a lot slower, and that's completely okay.
Yeah.
Everybody does it different.
You just have to be creative with where you're at in your life and what makes sense. And I will say something that we always say is I wish we would have started sooner.
Yeah.
Because we had so many adventures before we started YouTube, and I wish we would have been better at least documenting them, or, you know, being intentional about that. And even being at campgrounds like this, well, you know, normally people consider this retired life, you know, like we're
always the youngest.
We're always the youngest at a campground. And we all the time will have people who are retired. They'll come up and they're just confused. They're like, so how do you do this? Like, why are you here? You know? And we'll tell them, oh, we can work from the road, blah, 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 all this. And almost always they said, I wish I would have been able to do this RV life earlier. Like, I wish I would have been able to start earlier. And
wow,
I think it's just, I would start now. Like, it doesn't, and everybody always equates their success. Like they have this marker, like they'll find somebody online, they'll see their success.
Right.
And you shouldn't start at their success. You shouldn't start where they're at, because they had to start in an empty room or with no money or whatever first. And then,
go from there.
That's you talk about YouTube, and I'd love to lead in this for a second, because YouTube is so freaking confusing to me, right? So like I'm really good at Instagram. Like that is like what I kind of like sneeze and Instagram comes out. I breathe and I'm breathing Instagram. It's just, you know, and when anytime I try to do I try to do YouTube, I'm just like, I don't freaking get it. Like is there talk to us about your YouTube growth journey. Talk to us a little bit about, some of the highs and the lows of like, are there ever days where you're just like, why is this video getting 0.00001% of the views as this video when I've got the same amount of subscribers? Are people not like, teach us a little bit about YouTube for anyone that's interested in like, well, I've tried YouTube and it was a disaster. Is it as complicated as it seems?
Sometimes.
Yes and no. Yeah. There's definitely a formula you can take. I mean, you could totally play like the SEO game and really get your videos out there, make them education based, and they can be searchable. Like you can totally do that if your end goal is just to get views. But if you're doing something that you love, I think we take the hard way around. We're a little bit all over the place sometimes because we don't want to burn out, and we know we're not going to burn out as quickly if we're doing what we really love. So if we would niche down like everybody says to do these days, it would be easier to grow, but we would get bored with the same thing over and over. So it can be a little bit of a mystery. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it can be a little bit of a mystery. I think it's very frustrating because, our very first video that we ever published went viral and it hit like 5.4 million views.
Wow.
And it was a van tour. Like we were just showing off our van and then all of a sudden YouTube decided, oh, you're van people. And we're like, no, we're just traveling in a van. And so we got stuck into this really weird, like people wanted to know how we were using our toilet. People wanted to know, like, how do you do laundry? Like, where do you camp? And we're like, we don't care about any of this. Like, we care about the travel. We care about the experience. But I mean, the vehicle is just this tool to get us from place to place. And it took a while and it felt like we had to keep publishing content that we wanted to publish at first, and it would bomb, and it still bombs.
It still bombs,
but sometimes, yeah. And so, but occasionally we were able to attract an audience of who we were going after and who we wanted to be a part. But I mean, even now, like some days we'll think that we have a video that is just going to go gangbusters. We're like, this is going to be really good. I mean, for instance, this past video was about Guatemala. I got to fly to Guatemala and spend some time with some indigenous people there and work with a nonprofit, and it was near and dear to our heart. Like
beautiful video,
beautiful. Like we loved it, and it is like a 10 of 10. Nobody watched it, but then we throw up a video of my eye surgery in Korea, and like the whole country of Korea is just like going crazy for it, or like it's
unpredictable.
It can be unpredictable.
I mean, I don't think there's really a rhyme or reason science why a video will pop off and other ones won't. But we got really big in Korea, so
we got really big in Korea.
Big in Korea,
and we got really big in India. We live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's our home base, but we have a tuk-tuk, like a
three-wheel Indian rickshaw, rickshaw. Yeah.
And we made a video about it, and it decided to show it to Indian people, and the American embassy over in India decided to buy tuk-tuks for all the employees for the American embassy over there. And because of that, our video went viral in India. So it's just
my gosh,
there's all these different layers of why your video could do well. And sometimes it could happen immediately. And that's the beautiful thing about YouTube, though, is that a lot of times it'll happen later. So it could happen 3 years from now. So you just never know.
Yeah. The tuk-tuk one did. It happened 6 months later. We got 2,000 views on it early on. And then now it's like 750,000 views or something crazy. Yeah, it's weird. YouTube's weird.
And then with YouTube, I'm just drilling down one step deeper. Like, is it like, are you guys trying to get like partnerships on YouTube, or is it more like Google AdSense and stuff like that, in order to make YouTube a profitable thing for your business?
Yeah, both. AdSense is there. AdSense doesn't make as much as what people think it does. So partnerships are our biggest thing. So we'll take out, sponsored video posts. People will sponsor us to go to a place or to advertise a product. Sometimes it'll be including like Instagram Reels or Instagram posts. It can look a lot of different ways. It can be very custom to the person. But yeah, sponsorships are definitely the thing that pays the bills when it comes to YouTube. You don't really make that much off of your views, but your views can dictate how much people are going to pay you. It can. So that's kind of like the important thing. It's not all sub number. It's not all views number. It's a little bit of a combination of everything.
Yeah. And people don't talk about this. The views from where the views come from. Like our ads, so we had a video, like a Korea video, or actually the perfect one would be the Indian video. Like it's sitting at
Yeah.
almost 1 million views. Like it's getting really
Okay.
close. But all the viewers are Indian, and so their rate that the advertisers pay for per view is lower than the US. So just because we have that
Oh.
many views on on YouTube doesn't mean we got paid the same amount as we would have if it was like a US based video.
I
Fraction
see.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. This week, we are also partnering with Beekeeper's Naturals. Okay, Beekeeper's Naturals' mission is to reinvent the medicine cabinet. They do that by merging modern science with natural medicine to create clean, effective products that actually work. And as a beekeeper myself, I know that propolis, which is what my little bees are making in the backyard right now, is that secret hero ingredient. Okay, listen, my bees are making it right now to like seal the beehive shut, but propolis is the medicine of the beehive, and it helps support our immune system with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and over 300 beneficial compounds. So not only are you helping your own body, but you're helping the bees. They practice sustainable beekeeping and third-party test their formulas to ensure that their products are free of pesticides and heavy metals. And they never over-harvest the hives so that they make sure that the bees get to keep using the propolis that they are making. They've got propolis throat spray. I've needed some because I've had a cold the last week. They've got kids' throat-soothing lollipops as well. And here, listen, I know we're heading into fall. Everybody is sniffling. Give them a shot. So this is what I want you to do. Today, Beekeepers Naturals is offering you an exclusive offer. Go to beekeepersnaturals.com/Human Hope or enter code Human Hope to get 20% off your order. That is BEEKEEPERSNATURALS.com/Human Hope or enter code Human Hope to get 20% off your order. What I love it is also Beekeepers Naturals products are available at Target, Whole Foods, Amazon, CVS, and so many other places. What has been the hardest thing for each of you individually about, let's say about transitioning from being like van life? Because for a while you're right, you got stuck into van life, the niche, right? Like it was just the van. You're right. Like the tour of the van, or how do you do this with the van or that with the van? And then you guys made a conscious decision to, you know what, I just watching from afar, I was watching you guys go, no, we are travelers now. We are not van people. It doesn't matter if we're in a plane, in a van, in a boat. This is what we're going to, so what's been the hardest thing about purposely moving? And the reason why I ask you this question is because a lot of people are making decisions to really do a course correction on what it is they're known for, what it is they're building, what it is they're trying to do. And I think a lot of people are scared of that because the thing that is working, and it's like, but I don't necessarily want to do the thing that's working. For me, I was a music guy, I was a worship leader, and then I made a conscious decision to become a speaker and an author. And there was a good year and a half where it felt like the worst decision of my life, but I knew that I didn't want to do the other thing. I wanted to do this. So what's been hard about that pivot for you guys?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. I think just pushing, this may be too broad of an answer, but I think just pushing through, even when the numbers are telling you stop, like go back to what that is. Because at the end of the day, like we are not full-time with YouTube or that side of our business. We're still doing the web design and the graphic design, which dictates, how much time we can put into what we're doing with the YouTube stuff. So when our views bomb, if our channel's failing, we're farther from where we really want to be. And so we're having to give more time to our other side of the business. And I think trying to still prioritize what we love in the midst of having to do, what pays more of the bills. That's been the hardest thing and then to not get burned out or drained in the process. Yeah. It's really easy to get completely, I don't want to say burned out because I feel like burned out means you're almost done, but definitely like fatigued. When your job is always creative, like on both sides of the business is creativity, and you want to have the energy to put into what you really love.
Yeah. Well, and like the business name is called Chris and Sarah. Yeah. Like, it's based off of our personality of who we are. And like people now people follow us for us. Like, and we understand that. But when a video bombs or when we're not successful, it's almost like, well, Chris and Sarah suck. Just
Yeah.
like their worth as a human being
Mm.
isn't good enough. And so,
That's easy. That's really easy to do.
yeah. And so if we had a company that maybe wasn't our name, that was, just, coffee or whatever,
Yeah.
it's not as personal. It's business. It's like, hey, the
Sure.
business is struggling right now. It's fine, but it's not an attack on your like person, you as a
Right.
person. And so that's been probably a really difficult thing, is like our self-worth could be tied up into
Yeah.
Instagram or, YouTube or whatever.
No matter how many times you say it's not.
Yeah. You can be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And like deep down, you're like, no, it's
Yeah. They don't like me this week, which is not true, but it does get with
Totally.
you. Yeah.
No, that's good. No, that was a great answer. I love that. Do you guys see yourself, do you see an end of the travel thing? Like as you guys look, or are you just like, nah, I mean, we're probably just going to do this until it's over.
We were just talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably keep going forever if we can. I mean, who knows what life's going to throw at us, but we did just, we're not in a van anymore. We haven't been in a van for over a year now, but we did purchase like this old 1988 Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser. It's from Germany. So it's this really quirky little camper.
Okay.
And our plan is we're going to ship it overseas. So we're going to start traveling a little bit slower, but overseas. So doing more international versus domestic. That's sort of like our next step to grow. We started where we could afford in the US and we're growing more internationally. So we're going to be driving, overlanding internationally in this new rig with our dog, which is always another element of crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to slow down. We've got a few continents ahead of us.
Yeah. Like we love doing the slower travel. Like, I mean, we did the whole plane thing. Like we'd fly to a different country and that's great. And understandable. Like, I mean, you probably should do it if you're trying to go to the other side of the world, but like, at least with driving somewhere, even in the US, like going slowly, you get to see more than just the tourist spots and get to see how the locals really live and really are and what they're really about. And that's what we really love, is we get to see the real side of wherever we're at, instead of just the billboards.
Yeah. Places you're not going to see on Pinterest or YouTube. Those are the places you want to find.
Yeah.
Those little
in between the two destinations is really where a lot of your magic is happening, right? A lot of what you're enjoying, the slowness. You guys are kind of leaning into my next book and a lot of stuff that I'm going to be, leaning into over the next year. Talk to us quickly before we have to wrap up about your new podcast that you're starting. I mean, you're on my podcast. I'm grateful, and I also want to let everyone know this. Chris and Sarah were actually on my I've had 10 iterations of podcasts throughout my life, and they've all lasted 4 to 6 episodes. And then I'm like, I'm bored, and I start something else. So not until I signed a contract with a network did I actually have to start putting podcasts out all the time. So, but all that to say, Chris and Sarah were like on I think it was called Fill in the Blank. Was that the name of my podcast?
I think so. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Fill in the Blank. It was the most popular episode of my 4 episodes that I released.
Really?
A round of applause for you guys.
Didn't know.
We actually got approached by somebody in Wichita, Kansas. They're like, "You were on Carlos's podcast." And we're like, yeah.
And that podcast episode was like, what? 2 months of us living in the van. It was so early on. I don't even know if we had YouTube yet.
Yeah.
No. You definitely did not have YouTube. And I want to say it was my most popular podcast, and maybe 500 people listened to it. So it was, there wasn't a lot of bandwidth there, but it was awesome. So all that to say, tell us about your podcast. You guys started one. You've got fancy mics in front of you. So I'm like, oh no, these guys are professional podcasters.
Yeah, we're professional. Yeah. We started a new podcast called What No One Tells You. And it's conversations, with people about really kind of what no one tells you, like what it's really like working for an airline, or what it's really like traveling to a certain part of the world. And it's a way to tell cool stories, to have other people tell their cool stories and introduce you to a new idea that you may never have heard. Like we've had people who have sailed across the Pacific Ocean on their own. And what else have we had on? Just some really fascinating people. I mean, we're so boring compared to half these people that we're talking to. So that's really cool people. Really cool people. And so it just gives you and it's kind of in line with our brand, that it's kind of random and everywhere. There is travel is a central theme, but the topics can range from it's kind of broad and what we do and who we have.
So people can get and listen to it everywhere. All the places podcasts.
Right? We've got YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff. Yep.
Okay. Well, everybody go listen to not only listen to it, but subscribe. And again, the podcast is called, tell me what it's called again.
What No One Tells You.
What No One Tells You. That is amazing. You guys, I am constantly rooting you on, cheering you on. Thanks for hopping onto my podcast, Human Hope. It is, I find you guys very hopeful. Sara, I've never even told you this before. I was telling Heather before I hopped on the podcast. I was like, literally, if there's one thing that is like hopeful in who you're just your countenance and your smile is literally just delivers hope to people. All you got to do is smile and laugh. And I'm just telling you, like, I see it and I'm like, holy cow, like I just feel better about everything. So, just know that you guys are hopeful without even saying anything. And when you do say something, it is really impactful. And I'm cheering you guys on. Also, for everyone that doesn't know this as well, Chris actually designed a few of my book covers. So, if you've held my books in your hand, you've held his work in your hands. So
that's right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Pretty good. Amazing. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
How good was that? Hey, listen, you guys can listen to Chris and Sara more regularly by following their Instagram page, but also subscribing to their new podcast, What No One Tells You. Conversations with people about what it's really like to work for an airline, travel certain places, sail across the Pacific Ocean or whatever, right? They're interviewing some really cool people. You guys are going to love them. Also, Chris's voice, I just can't get enough of it. I don't know why. Like, I just want him to talk to me all the time. He's got the voice of just what your best friend should sound like. That's what Chris's voice sounds like. Sarah's voice sounds like, I don't know. It's very Sara-ish. It is so calming and soothing and relaxing, whereas Chris's voice is a little bit more mischievous. Why am I analyzing my friends' voices right now? I have no idea. But anyway, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Human Hope Podcast. Friends, by the time you listen to this, I will be finished with a management team planning meeting for 2024. Big talks about the podcast. And you guys aren't even ready for some stuff that's coming in 2024. We're already talking about it in 2023. Hey, Dr. Delight, hit it. Hey. All right, men, women, and children, Hope is leaving the building for a week. We'll see you next Thursday for another episode of the Human Hope Podcast.